would like to welcome everybody back to the Trader's Mindset series. On the first episode of the series, we did discipline. You can click the link right above, or all of these links will be in the description as well. Second video of the series was patience. Again, the link is above. If you have not seen that one, go back and watch it as well. Third video of the series was bankroll management. I have a link to that at the top corner. Another take on risk management. If you haven't caught that video, you should go do so. Fourth video in the series was confidence. Basically tying it all together. Confidence is what we will go on through as we continue through this video series. Everything's going to be centered around building confidence. The link is above. If you haven't seen that one, go back and give it a watch. Today, we will be going through sticking to your strategy, discipline over temptation. And today we'll dive into the biggest challenges traders face, being disciplined in the face of temptation. So you're trying to chase a trade, increasing risk, or stepping outside your plan, temptation is always present. When you truly think about it, discipline is what separates successful traders from the rest. And temptation is normally your downfall. Now, temptation comes from emotional triggers, FOMO, fear of missing out, greed, even frustration from a previous loss, revenge trading. You know what I'm talking about. You take a loss, you try to trade it back, you revenge trade until you've blown your account, right? At the end of the day, it's all about having your rules and sticking to your strategy. You obviously have to make sure that your strategy is a consistently profitable one. So whether you back test, whether you forward test, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you have tested your strategy, you know that your strategy works, and then you have rules set in place in order to take your trades on your strategy. So you have your setup, your entry, you execute the trade. We've said this over and over again. The biggest problem that people have, and this is why we call this sticking to your strategy, is even though you did the back testing, even though you did the forward testing, whichever one you prefer, now you have to stick to that trading strategy. You have to stick to those rules for setup and entry. You can't jump from strategy to strategy to strategy. And you see it happen all the time. People, this strategy works and works and works, and then they jump out of it and go to a different strategy. They see somebody else that's made X amount of money. They see somebody else that's trading this asset or that asset. What you do and what resonates with you is what you need to stick to. Like we've said over and over, it's all about consistency. Putting all these pieces together. And what does that do? Last video, it builds confidence. You build confidence and you can follow your plan and you stick to your strategy. It always seems like people, after figuring out a strategy that resonates with them, they've chose how they're going to trade, then they take one loss. Here they are jumping to the next strategy, jumping to the next indicator, jumping to the next mentor. You're going to ask yourself, how does this help? And why does it not help? Think about it for a minute. You try a different strategy and you still get the same results. Try a different indicator and you still get the same results. You get a different mentor, different course, still get the same results. What is it that stayed the same in this whole sequence of events? It was you. You were the variable in the situation, right? Changing all these things, sadly, are not going to change you. And I've heard that from many traders time and time again. No matter what I do, no matter what I change, it still stays the same. Always lose. This always happens. I always blow an account. I always revenge trade. You guys just have to realize that you're still in the equation. So nobody ever goes inside and says, okay, let's look inside me. Let's look in the mirror and let's say, am I the problem? Every indicator I try, it doesn't work. Why not? Every strategy I try, it doesn't work. Why not? every new platform, every new mentor, whatever you guys are going through, you have to realize you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, is it me? If you do not stick to your strategy, stick to your plan, stick to your rules, then no matter what strategy you have, it's not going to work because it's consistency at the end of the day. We've said this. You have to have discipline, have patience, manage your risk, and then what? All then put together builds consistency. Does what? Builds your confidence. You have to put all the puzzle pieces together. One of those puzzle pieces is sticking to your plan, sticking to your rules, sticking to your strategy. You have to make sure that your strategy is one that is consistent to begin with. So I'm not telling you, hey, stick to a losing strategy. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is your strategy losing because it's a losing strategy, or is it losing because you're having problems sticking to it? You're not sticking to your rules. You're letting emotions take over. And I know you guys will hear all the time, well, no emotions in trading. Trade like a robot. Guys, that's not possible. Anybody who tells you there's no emotions in trading isn't telling you the truth. It just doesn't work that way. We are human beings. We have emotions. We're always going to have emotions. We're always going to have greed. We're always going to have fear. We're always going to have hope. We're always going to have these emotions, right? What's the difference between sticking to your strategy or sticking to your rules and letting these emotions control you? The difference is you control your emotions. Are they still there? Absolutely. When you learn how to control them, because you realize that the outcome is positive, when you don't let the emotions control you, we build habits. How many times have we said this? Same thing goes if you get involved in a FOMO trade. Let's say you break your rules, you emotionally enter or move your stop loss, or, fill in the blank. You guys understand what you do when emotions set in and you don't know what to do, and then it goes your way. That's the worst thing that can happen. And I've said this time and time and time again. If you win a trade by doing the wrong thing, that dopamine goes to your brain, and your brain starts believing that that was the way to do it. You created that strategy for a reason. You created them rules for a reason. If you go against them and you win on your P&L, now your brain says, oh, well, that was the way to do it. And it'll start overriding with emotions, emotional trading rather than controlling your emotions. It will override your strategy, override your rules, because now your brain says, oh no, we saw this positive thing happened when we did this. Why I tell you guys all the time, instead of thinking about green numbers, red numbers, think about the process. Think about your strategy. Think about your rules. Follow them. And that is a win, regardless of whether you made green on the day or you made red on the day. It doesn't matter as long as your strategy and your rules are put in place to be consistently profitable. And you want to stick to them over and over and over again and make a habit out of it. And maybe some of you guys that really, really, really struggle with emotions, I've heard about you guys that just get involved in a trade. The emotions are to a point of not even knowing what to do because you can't control them. You need to look inside yourself. When you start having these emotions, start asking yourself, why do I have this emotion? Start questioning it. Start saying, this was my strategy. Was it correct where I entered? Was my setup there? Was my entry there? Look at it like that. And then say, okay, well, there's no reason for these emotions. Same thing as anything else. When you're a young child, you were scared of the monster under your bed, let's just say. You have to start asking yourself, is there really a monster under your bed? You have to start acknowledging these emotions, and if these emotions are there for a reason, or if these emotions are actually fictitious emotions just trying to get you in trouble because they believe this or they believe that. And the problem is there's no thinking or believing per se in trading. You want to have your plan in place, have your rules in place, and just follow them to a T for consistency. In my opinion, when you talk about emotions, the title of this video, you're talking about temptation. I feel like they're kind of the same thing. One of the best ways to combat temptation is having a clear, detailed trading plan. And your plan is your roadmap, guiding you on when to enter, when to exit, and how much to risk. Those are the things we've already been over in this video series. That's why if any of you haven't seen the videos prior to this, go watch them. It's definitely going to help in order to get you to where we are right now. When temptation does arise, though, your plan serves as a reminder of what your rules are. You know, you set them rules in place for a reason. You want to make sure that you follow them. For you guys that have a real hard time following your rules, maybe put you a whiteboard up beside your desk and write down exactly what you have to do in order to enter a trade. Make sure that you've covered every single rule. Make sure your setup was there. Make sure your entry was there. Make sure that your risk wasn't over risking. Make sure all these things. And I'm not going to tell you that's going to happen overnight, guys. Trusting your rules, trusting your plan is going to take time and practice. But the more you rely on it and see positive results, the easier it becomes to stick to your strategy and ignore the temptation to deviate. The more you rely on it and see positive results, the easier it becomes to stick to your strategy and ignore the temptation. Ignore the emotions. One of the biggest emotions that I hear out there is FOMO, fear of missing out. It's one of the biggest challenges traders face, it seems. It happens when you see a big market move, and then you feel like you need to jump in before the opportunity's gone. And there's a lot of people that show up to the stream. Oh, shouldn't we short here? Oh, look, it's going. Shouldn't we short here? Not if your plan does not include this. Not if your strategy does not give you a clear entry. You want to have your setup. You want to have your entry. So no matter how much is going up, no matter how much is going down, you want to make sure that it is within your rule set to enter a trade here. You want to see your setup. You want to see your entry. You can't just jump in because something went way up and now we want to go long. And the same goes the other way. Something went way up. Well, now it's got to come back down. So you're going to go short. You have to have a clear understanding of why it is that you're going to enter a trade. It has nothing to do with a big candle up or a big candle down or a big candle freaking sideways. Yes, I know. All the haters, get me in the comments. No sideways candles. I know. Anyway, it has nothing to do with big candles or this, that, the other. It's got everything to do with your strategy. It's got everything to do with where your setup is and where your entry is and following your rules for said entry. You have to stay patient and disciplined and wait for it. You avoid the risks of chasing the market that way. It's important to remember that missing one trade doesn't define your success. What matters is sticking to your strategy and waiting for the right moment to act. And that brings us to the next common temptation that everyone has, and probably even more relevant from the people that I've talked to, and that's revenge trading. Any of you guys that struggle with that, it's the same principles. You have to have a setup. You have to have an entry. Trying to make back a loss by immediately just jumping in to another trade is never going to work. Emotions run high when you take a loss, and I get that. And that's why I say all the time, if you had your setup, if you had your entry, if you weren't over risking, then you won. Even if the trade is red and the trade itself was a loss, you won in your long-term success. That's the next video in the video series. We're going to go over long-term mindset. You guys that come to the streams every day realize that you have your setup, you have your entry, you enter, you won. It has nothing to do with green numbers, red numbers, because if you consistently do that time and time and time again, you're going to be consistent. At the end of the day, that's what matters. If you take a loss because you took a high probability setup, variance played against you, you took a loss, and now you go back and revenge trade and lose much more, maybe blow your entire account, what have you achieved? If you do this time and time and time again, how are you ever going to get ahead? It's like poker. I apply these things to poker a lot, and I know there's a lot of you out there that don't play poker, but if you're playing Texas Hold'em and you have pocket aces and a guy puts you all in pre-flop, then obviously you're going to call them. Let's just say they have pocket twos. You have this person crushed. However, if a 2 comes on the board, they win. But I promise you that if you continue to call the all-ins every single time you get pocket aces, you will be consistently profitable at the game of poker. And these are the problems. Now, if you instead lose that pot, say you still got $500 sitting in front of you, and the next hand you get 5-9 offsuit, and you go all in, just because you're upset that you lost the last hand, what's going to happen? You're going to lose the hand. And let's just say you don't, because we're going to get in that as well. What happens if you don't lose the hand? Well, now you just told your brain that it's fine to go on tilt, or looking at it as traders, fine to revenge trade. Around the poker table, it's fine to go on tilt. So what will your brain do? Well, your brain will continue to do this. Now you've created a bad habit. Bad habits are hard to break. Habits themselves are hard to break. People always say bad habits are hard to break, but in all reality, every habit is hard to break. And just think about that for a minute. If every habit is hard to break, what kind of habits would you like to have? You want to have good habits, right? So what you want to do after you take that loss, and if some of you have super problems with it, your emotions really set in after taking a loss, you need to get to the point to where you just look at it as you will lose, because that's the case. A lot of people don't have confidence in their system, and this is why they get so upset about losing. Lose a trade and they're like, man, I'm never going to get that back. But if you have confidence in your strategy, confidence in your rules, you know that you're always going to make that back. What you need to do is, after experiencing a loss, maybe take a minute, maybe look at the trade, make sure that you did everything properly, make sure that your setup was there, make sure that your entry was there. If it wasn't, write it down. Why did it happen? If it was, write it down as, hey, this was when I lost. You're not going to win every single trade. And if you just can't take the loss, if emotionally you just can't take it, get up, get out of your chair, walk outside, take a break. You know, like all the people in the server say, touch some grass, whatever works for you. Maybe go out, lift some weights, run around the block, do anything just to get those emotions off so that you can reset, come back, and find your next clear opportunity to get involved in the market. And the big part of it is, discipline means accepting your losses as part of the process and not letting them control your next move. Losses or wins have nothing to do with what you do next. It's always the same. It's always, you have your setup. You have your entry. You enter. That's all there is to it. It's got nothing to do with what trade you won, what trade you lost. You want to step back, reflect, and enter another trade when it fits your strategy, not because you just want to make back what you lost. And for the other side of you guys out there, temptation doesn't just arise after losses either. It can also appear after a string of wins. I'm sure a lot of you know this just as well. You get a few successful trades, you get overconfident, you start increasing your risk, making trades outside your plan. You need to stay consistent with your strategy, regardless of your recent success. Even during winning streaks, discipline is key. Maintaining discipline and sticking to your strategy during both winning and losing trades, you build consistency in trading, which leads to long-term success. Next thing we have with sticking to your strategy is overtrading. You want to make sure that you don't overtrade. Not about taking every trade. It's about taking the ones that align with your strategy and provide the best opportunities for profit. At the end of the day, this is a game of probabilities, just like poker, just like sports betting. It's not a game of just jumping in the market and trying to find a place that maybe you can pull some profit out. It's a game of A plus B equals C. And don't get me wrong, guys. Every trader is going to deal with temptation, going to deal with emotions. It's how you respond to it that matters. You have to stick to your plan. You have to stick to your strategy. You have to resist FOMO, avoid revenge trading, and manage your wins responsibly. Trading isn't just about chasing the market. It's about executing your strategy with patience. And our quote today is from Andrew Carnegie. The men who have succeeded are men who have chosen one line and stuck to it. Goes right along with what we're saying here. You want to stick to your rules, stick to your strategy, make sure that you stay consistent. I hope that resonates with you guys. The next episode on the trader's mindset will be long-term mindset, as I said before. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see the videos in the future, subscribe, hit the notification bell so it'll alert you when the next video comes out. I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, stay consistent out there.